How you all doing, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? Welcome. So this was a very interesting question, actually, I got recently on Twitter, and that is a very simple question. It's how would I evaluate Thomas Tuchel's time at Bayern so far? Now, if we're being completely honest, he really only managed one notable thing, which I think is beating Dortmund, which I thought was challenging. But then to lose, like, basically immediately in the DFB Pokal and also against Manchester City in the Champions League, while it's not all on him, of course, there is, he does share the responsibility. Now, how much percent do I think he'll share? I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. If I were to just, come up with a number, probably like 25% ish, because he is the manager at the end of the day. Now, of course, you can say, well, the players slipped, the players didn't convert their chances, and those are all things that are true. But he's still the person in charge, and quite frankly, as I always say, when you're in charge, then you share the then you are the responsibility. Like, you share the most responsibility, basically. Should share the most responsibility, basically. Now, of course, there are other circumstances with the lack of time that he's had, and also the fact that he's basically coming in towards the tail end of the season, so the players they're used to playing differently, and then they have to adjust to his style. What I will say is this, though. I'm not that worried necessarily, based on on what happens this season. For me, what's more important is that I see progression. And it's always been sort of the case that I see progression, because we didn't see any progression under Nagelsmann since he joined, and I would say, and that's been my whole argument, that we've been regressing under Nagelsmann this entire time. And I think what I want to see personally from this time that Tuchel is here, like this season, as well as the next season, is us to start playing better and better. Now, for example, I can say that in the last game we played decently, because the opponent didn't have a single shot on target, which basically was unheard of under Nagelsmann. So, little things like that. I want us to shore up defensively, but I also want us to look more free, more balanced, more, available up front. So that's what I'm judging him on this season. I don't think we'll lose the Bundesliga. I said that before. With your opponent being Dortmund, I can't see us ever lose the Bundesliga. If it was a different opponent, sure, it'd be an option. But I don't see us lose the Bundesliga to Dortmund. Just because it's in their club DNA to not win, to bottle everything. So that's why, for me, the way I look at it is I'm not worried about the Bundesliga. I do think we're gonna cross that finish line, but also for me, I also look at it and I'm just like, what is what's needed, and it's the performance. I want to see the performance improve. I've seen, it's only a small sample size, but the defensive side of things looks better. I'm not saying good. I'm not saying great. I'm just saying better than what it was. Now I need to see that consistently, and I also need to see the attack improve. And if those two things, I'm not saying we need to be amazing by the end of the season. I'm not claiming that at all. But I am saying that we need to be better. So the way I would say is that what do I think? How would I judge him so far? His time so far? Well, if we're honest, it wasn't a great start. It wasn't a great start. Having all those L's on your record. To me, immediately, you get a... How are we rating it? Are we rating it out of 100 out of 10? I'm giving it a grade. If we're rating it out of 100, I'll probably give it just a flat line 7 out of 100, 7 out of 10, basically. That's what I would say. Actually, no, a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I think a 6 out of 10. We're being more realistic. I know it's I'm rating it the modern way, which I hate rating it the modern way, where ratings don't start until 5. Anything below 5 doesn't exist. I know that's a awful way to look at it. But that's why if I had to actually give it a proper grade rating, the S, A, B, C, D, E, F, I'd say he's been so far a D. I know that doesn't correspond with, as I said, that doesn't correspond with the out of 10 or out of 100 rating, but that's because those ratings are skewed towards the positives anyway rather than the negatives. So realistically, right, out of 100, if I had to give him a rating, and I'm not talking about like the positive or, you know, everything starts at minimum a 6 out of 10, because you can't be any lower than that. So if I had to actually give him like a proper rating from 0 to 100, with it starting at 0 and ending at 100, I would say so far it's a 45. That's sort of where I am at right now, a 45. Like it isn't horrendous, but it's more in a negative than in a positive. Now, if the last game wasn't positive, I would have said, okay, it's lower than that. It would have been in the 30s. But now there's slowly some improvement, visible improvement that I can see. There's been a lot of other little things that we've worked on. And granted, you know, during the games, for example, against Manchester City, the second leg, you know, if certain things hadn't gone the way they did, and let's say we had a striker, or let's say we had a goal, then suddenly we could have said, wow, this is our best performance of the season. It's funny how like a single goal can often change the narrative, but that's sort of the whole point, you know. I'm not like, you know, a certain athlete that says, well, there is no failure in sport. There is most certainly failure in sport, and quite frankly, you know, it's the little things that need to be worked on. So that's the way I see it. Overall, a 45 out of 100. That's me being, I think, fairly generous. I think, you know, we're actually rating it from a 0 to 100, not just from like 50 to 100, as it tends to be the case. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you all think. Let me know what you think of his tenure so far. And, you know, we'll obviously discuss this in more detail as well once the season is over, because that's when it's a more fair and realistic evaluation that can be made. And we obviously know whether we've won the Bundesliga or not. I don't think there's an issue, but, you know, things may change come the next few months. So that's my thoughts. Let me know what you all think. I will see all of you in the next one, everyone. Until then, have a nice day. Peace out. And as always,